hard on me to tell you this. My papa died in 1940. 19 years before I was born, my papa died. They had just let him out of federal prison for murder. It was all over liquor and money, and he killed a house full of people, men, women, and children. Then he drove home and killed my grandmother and put a 7-day-old baby between her dead, cold arms and left. Later, Papa was born back in the 1800s, 1886, I think it was. Later, they found him and found him guilty of mass murder and put him in maximum security prison for the rest of his life, and that's what they should have done. But when Papa was dying, they let him out and put him in a little community hospital. Looked like a veterinarian clinic back then. My Papa was mean. He's tough. But he was so shriveled up where they had worked him to death in that prison. He was just a little shriveled up, frail man about that big around. And my daddy said when they called us in that my daddy was dying, he said, I had a pillow about that thick. And he said to my daddy, he said, Hudell, put that pillow under my head. And he said, my daddy was so weak, he couldn't lift his head up enough to put a pillow that thick behind his head. He was so weak, dying. My daddy got saved when he was 76. He never told me this story. Never, till he got saved. He said, I was standing there and I was watching my daddy die. There was no family. Nobody loved him. Nobody wanted him. My dad didn't even know him. And he's standing at the foot of the bed watching his daddy, a mass murderer, gasp for breath. And as he was dying, he looked at my daddy and said, Hudell! There's fire in hell! And my daddy said, it so set me back, I almost passed out. And he said, Hudell, did you hear me? There's fire in hell. And it so racked my daddy that he ran down the corridor of that little hospital, got all the way down to the other end of the hallway and stuck his face up against the window, covered his ears, and he could hear his daddy scream all down that hallway, there's fire in hell, you know. When his voice became silent, my daddy went back to the room. And there laid his dead daddy soaking wet with sweat. And the nurse came to him and said, your daddy was so frail, he couldn't even sit up in the bed. But when your daddy was dying, it took 4 of us to hold him in that cot. Mr. Kidd, I'm sorry, but I watched your daddy scream his way to hell. You wonder why I don't play around in the pulpit. You wonder why I'm not a clown. You wonder why we're building his church on preaching. Because since 1940, my papa's been in hell without God, lifting his voice out of the darkened flames of the wrath of God, wishing he had got saved and turned his life around. And I don't know how all eternity works, and I don't know what they know and don't know, but somehow I wish that God would tell him that his grandson's a preacher boy, and he's trying to keep everybody that he can from keeping going to that same place. I'm telling you, sin will find you out. You may not want God today. You may walk out of here without God today, but when you open your eyes in hell, you'd wish to God on that Sunday morning, you're to come to Jesus.